1 minute. Okay, being 6:30, I'll call the facilities meeting to order. Roll shows that all members are present. First action will be the approval of the minutes of the May 26th meeting. They were all mailed out to everybody. Are there any additions, corrections, or what are your wishes on the minutes?
I'll move to approve.
A motion has been made to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll say.
A second's been made. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. The minutes are as printed. Okay, the next thing is public comment. Does the public have anything to say? Okay,
And I did not receive any via email.
okay, we do have one in person here. So which mic does he have to go to? Any mic? Bob, if you, your name and address, please.
My name is Bob Cook. I'm the chairman of the town of Red Cedar. I live in E6477 490th Avenue in Menominee. And the reason I'm here tonight is representing the town board on the recent decisions made by the recycle board to not sell or lease the Dunn County Waste Facility. The decision was made by a handful of people that are appointed to this board. In spite of the fact that Dave Bartlett made a comment, the Dunn County is the 6th highest indebted county in the state of Wisconsin. And even though 10 town chairmen and the city of Menominee all agreed and sent notification that the site should be sold, and 2 members of the board that are town representatives also voted to sell the property. It was pointed out that they needed to reduce the debt. And how do you reduce debt? You sell off negative assets. So show us the facts. We know that the site had been appraised, or a value assessed to it. We have no idea what the value is. And according to Morgan Girk, it's going to take several thousand, $100,000 to repair the facility. So you take the value of the appraisal and reduce it by the amount of repairs needed. That's what you got left. Right now, you've got 3 willing buyers to take this facility over and to turn it over to be used by the residents of the county. And it is true that it's not going to be as helpful to the people farther out in the outlying areas, but it would be a service provided to all county residents. How does this decision not to sell make sense? It will not reduce the debt. It's not feasible for Dunn County Highway to use it for cold storage. It's too far away. At $50 per hour per man to take something out there. And if you take something out, you got to bring that man home. So 2 people have to go. By the time you get it in the shed, they'll kill 2 hours. It's just not feasible for them. And there's no taxes collected on the property. And a year from now, you will not have a buyer, because the buyers that are out there right now will have made a decision and will find some way to serve the residents of the county with a non-mandated recycling facility. Dunn County will remove the scale from the property, and that will reduce the value at least by 1/3 again, because that's the major value left in the facility. The county will still have the lingering concern of soil contamination. Now, if you lease it to a partner, you split that responsibility, because you can't say it was them and they can't say it was you. I think there's just a very poor decision, in a continuing number of bad decisions made by the county board, and in this case, by the recycling board. I thank you for this opportunity to speak. I don't think it was on.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Anybody else care to speak? And there was none other ones, Krista, is that correct?
Yes, there is no other public comments.
Okay. Okay, then we'll go on to items placed at the request of the chair. Item A, review of Red Cedar Racing Ordinance. I was asked to put this on the agenda, so it's on here. And anybody care to speak to it? Mike?
I guess I would like to, I guess instead of speaking to it, I'd like to make a motion, or should I speak to it first?
Either or.
I'd like to make a motion to allow racing to resume operations without restrictions. And then I'll talk about it if we move forward with it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
point of order. Your agenda doesn't call for an action item. This is discussion.
Okay.
I'm not, we do need to pay attention to these. If we wanted it to be an action item, it need to be under consideration of actions to be taken by the committee, so the
Okay.
public is adequately informed of the possibility.
Okay. Thank you for the protocol correction.
All right.
Okay, so let's have discussion. Why do you feel this way?
Well, and I guess we talked about it last month. I thought it was going on the agenda to discuss the, so why can we not make a motion?
Because well, Mr. Mayor, I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, it's not noticed that way. If adequate notice is required to inform the public of the potential actions taken by any deliberating board appointed by the government. So if this was to be an action item, it should be on the agenda as a potential item of action so that anybody who's interested knows, hey, they could be taking a vote on this and I want to hear their deliberation and witness the vote. Being placed at the request of the chair, it may be discussed, but if it's going to be acted on, it needs to be noticed that way to the public.
Okay, and just for clarification for myself, because it was a resolution initially to do it, we would actually need a resolution to undo it. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes. You would need to, now that doesn't mean you have to have necessarily a resolution in front of you to act on. If this had been placed as a consideration of actions by the committee to vote on it, such a resolution could be prepared in advance of the county board meeting to reflect the recommendation of this committee. So yes, it is a resolution to right now that controls racing for the season. To undo it would take a resolution to supersede and replace that.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So can I ask Mr. Miller?
Oh, sure.
So can we act on the amount of restrictions within the resolution or not that either?
No, unfortunately, no. I apologize. I did not understand that the whole of the committee or the chair would actually want this to be an action item. I do review the agenda items, and I discussed it with John Swarsky about what was on there. I understood this simply to be a discussion. If I had known that you wanted potentially to take action, I would advise it needed to be noticed that way.
Okay, so again, go ahead, lead off discussion.
So I guess my thought is, I believe it's probably time we move on and we lighten the restrictions we put on racing. The CDC's made it clear that outside activities can start to resume. We currently have the Country Fest open with tens of thousands of people in very close proximity without restrictions. Major League Baseball, the NFL, all these stadiums are opening with full capacity and no restrictions. We're going forward with the Northern Wisconsin State Fair in Chippewa. Restaurants and bars are operating without restrictions, with recommendations, but not restrictions. We have a lot of other racetracks throughout the area, and all of them are operating without restrictions and operated last year without any major issues related specifically to any of those facilities. Being outdoors, it does lead to the supporting the reasoning for not needing as many restrictions. I don't propose this just because everybody else is opening up. But at the same time, the Dunn County residents really need some strong reasoning on why it's only Dunn County and only racing that maintains these restrictions. There are plenty of nearby rural communities that also have low vaccination participation that are also open. If people choose not to get vaccinated, that's their right. Providing you have received yours, then you can go about your business and allow others to live as they choose. Racing has been following all the mandates that we've put on them. And if they have to go back due to some circumstances, I have confidence that in their professionalism and their diligence to do what's necessary if a crisis arises. So I guess I would encourage us to revisit this next month or sooner. And maybe look at giving them the freedom to open up. And I realize they have currently operated the last few weeks at 100%. So you'll say, why is it that we need to change what we have because they're operating at 100%? But there's challenges that they really shouldn't have to go through. They have to wait until Wednesday evening to be able to then contact all of their people to find out who can and can't and let them know if they can all come to the races because of whatever the volume that they're allowed. With some of the larger events coming up that they kind of count on for the revenue funds. So I just find it a little unfair that we're putting these restrictions on them. And I'm not sure that it's necessary. I don't think it matches with the policies in the rest of both our county and other neighboring counties that are allowing a lot of activities that are far larger than the racing would ever bring in. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else care to have a discussion point?
I just want to add, and I thank Mike for bringing this up. I thought it was going to be on the agenda for an action item. One of the points that I wanted to make are at this point in time, I don't think that we're talking about making wholesale changes. All as we're talking about doing is allowing them to go to 100% capacity without the restriction. Some of the things that we do know about the virus now that we didn't before, and the CDC has come out and said this, is that transmission at an outdoor facility or outdoors is less likely. So outdoor transmission is one of the things. I do want to compliment Red Cedar Racing because I believe that they have gone above and beyond. And I don't think we're talking about taking down the sneeze shields that they put up that they weren't asked to. We're not talking about that. We're talking about not talking about changes at the concession stands where people stand 6 feet apart and you know they're selling baskets or whatever to take out. The transmission is not so they've done some really good things there, and they've gone above and beyond what they've been asked to do by the county. So, and we're not asking to take that away. What I thought we were going to talk about today on the agenda was simply allowing them to go to 100% capacity without having to check with KT week in and out for that because of some of the other things we know, outdoor venues, your Country Fest, you got Rock Fest, you got Country Jam, you got all these music in the parks. All these activities are opening up without restrictions out there. You mentioned Major League Baseball, football. You got Carson Park baseball with the over there. They're all opening up with 100% without the restrictions and without taking some of the care that the Red Cedar Racing has taken this year to be able to open up. So maybe we need a special meeting just for that item that we can talk about not limiting their grandstand capacity.
Anybody else? Well, I have a couple opinions, and I guess I would not want to remove the check every week. In the event that something does happen, we would still have that in place. I can see opening it up. Now you're talking about still keeping the restrictions in place as far as, is that what you were talking
6
about?
feet,
Mike?
hand sanitizer, all this other stuff.
Or were you talking, Mike, were you talking about removing all things and just
Well,
opening up?
I was talking all things, but I would be willing to move a little off that stance, certainly for.
And one of your main points is the fact that they have to wait until Wednesday to find out as far as their capacity based upon what the numbers are. Is that,
That's one of the,
I mean,
yes, that's
Yeah,
one of the, I guess that's a nuisance issue that they shouldn't have to go through, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay.
We look at what's going on with everybody else, and I know we can't say what everybody else does, but it does come into play when you have all these events and our constituents are saying to me, why can't everybody else do this? And that's not a health issue, but we can't, and it's a health issue. There's got to be a little more consistency, and I don't see the consistency in our policy here. So
Okay.
I personally would be in favor of allowing them the same freedoms that most other venues in an active compromise to get them to 100%, so they don't have to check every Wednesday if they can open up. I'd be willing to probably get on board with that.
at this time, Mark, would you please come to the mic?
Sure.
I guess I would like to have your input if you're willing. Your name and address.
Okay, shut it off.
How's that?
Okay, Thomas, 714 North Court, Menominee, Wisconsin. I am the president of the Red Cedar Racing Association. And when we were at the last meeting where the new resolution was adopted, and the numbers were changed, I know that this same subject matter was brought to the table and was tabled until this meeting. And so I kind of thought the same thing, but if I understand the procedures. So I guess where we're coming from is the fact that we have some racing events coming up with some traveling folks. With the World of Outlaws, we have fair night races coming up. And then we have in the first part of August, we have a $15,000 ton show, which is obviously, it's potentially going to be the biggest show in the history of our association that we're associated with as far as Minnesota goes. So we have some big events coming up, and a little more, I guess, along the same lines as what's been said, a little more stability. Having to maybe cancel something on a Wednesday is could be tough, and be something that ends up negative for our association as far as the amount of work that goes into preparing for these. So for example, the World of Outlaw show is coming up July 18th, right in front of the fair. You know, we're already knee deep into the planning phases of that, you know, and you know, to be restricted for a show like that would be really hurtful to our association, and I'm guessing the public would not be very happy. But at the same time, I want to make sure that everybody understands we're not asking to be careless here. Okay, that's not our wishes. You know, you know, if I'm going to just throw this out there. Okay, so if the pandemic re-emerges with some type of a spike, we would certainly be willing to step back, sit down with KT and folks and step back if we have to and that kind of thing, you know, and, you know, work hand in hand and you know, but I kind of agree that there's a lot of things going on, and I think that's what's happening to the public. Their freedoms are happening again, and then to end up being restricted again, and none of us can predict where this virus is going to go or whatever. But sure, going good right now, and you know, KT and I have communicated week to week and had great communications with each other. I think the other day I told her that, and she told me it was 100%, and I said, well, that's awesome for the health of our county and for the racetrack, you know. And so those are the dialogues that we have with each other and things. So there's a willingness there to communicate with each other and work with each other and that kind of thing. So I guess obviously we would be in favor of what was proposed and also be willing to, you know, set up some type of a amendment to it or whatever, that if, you know, whatever those numbers might be, that we get back in front of each other and renegotiate or look at, you know, the possibility of being at a 50% or something like that. But
Okay, I guess the question I would have then would be that in the event that a spike did occur, would you be willing to go back to the existing guidelines as they are right now? No more, I mean, not another renegotiation.
right.
I mean, we would go back to the existing guidelines.
Yep.
You would, okay, I
Yep.
want to just make sure that that's what I heard you
I mean, I
say.
think that's,
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
I heard correctly. Don?
Yeah, well, and it will not change anything.
Well, what changed it?
Well, if we relax it to 100% and not have a check, but then if a spike comes, he still is going to check. So it's really not going to change.
well, that'd be I mean, that's,
It's not really changing
I-
anything because you're at 100% if there's no problem. And the minute there's a problem, you're going to have to go back anyway.
But the thing is, they have to wait until Wednesday to get the okay to go to 100%.
Yeah.
And that,
or any number. I mean,
or
it's-
whatever the number
whatever the
is, you
number
have
is,
to wait until Wednesday. And then that logistically could cause some issues.
I guess if I could clarify what you know, more, I'm talking about a significant type of spike where we're back in trouble again. Okay, I'm not talking about 10 cases or something in 7 days or whatever that number is. You know what I mean?
Well, that's,
I
I
just
guess
want
that
to make
that
sure.
is the discussion item then, because at what number is significant increase? So we've been going along, you know, last 3 weeks, it's been 5 or less or whatever.
Right.
And so what would be that number that you would consider significant, that we would go back to the old guidelines, you know? I guess that would be a negotiating point. Yeah, Mike.
So I guess I kind of get what everyone's saying, but are we really looking for a number like we currently have, or are we looking for a spike that creates an issue of public health where
That's,
we have 20 cases this week or 30 cases this week and things look really bad? We need to get back to the table and look at this? Or are we just saying that, yeah, there was this event over there and we had 7 or 8 cases? I don't know that should change the policy or the path we're on. Whereas if we have we all know what it would look like to have a kind of a really bad setback where we have 20 cases this week, 20 cases next week, 30 cases coming. we're looking at something very different.
That's the numbers that I would meant, you know, as far as how I brought this up, you know, I'm not, you know, that significant type of a, and I guess maybe we'd have to, you know, maybe KT and us could sit down and look at that number or whatever. I don't know, but
Well, I just want, before we, yeah, I want to make sure everybody's crystal clear as to what we're all agreeing upon. Because, yeah, it's, the fact that we've been so low for the last few weeks, that's wonderful. That's great.
so
And, but I would hate to see it jump up so the number is 20 or 30 and we don't respond. So I guess that's all I'm saying.
I do have something else that kind of popped into my mind, and obviously we know that a number of people have been have had the shots immunized, but Dunn County is lagging behind. Do we have an opportunity here? And I'll talk to Mark about this, because one of the things that we're talking about is getting the clinics more out to the people, more accessible, rather than have them to drive into a clinic. Would it be possible to get the health department to the races to actually immunize people that aren't immunized at the races? Would that be something that Red Cedar Racing would be willing to do? Have them come out there and have an immunization clinic? That's a question for you, Mark.
okay. I'm speaking for a lot of people right now, okay, but I just knowing the folks, I'm sure that they would support anything that we could do to help in the battle against the COVID-19 virus. So
I'm looking at because, you know, at the meeting, we heard that they went out somewhere to a hardware store or something like that. And the person was against getting immunized. But since they were there and it was free, they decided to go ahead and proceed with it.
Right.
So I'm looking at opportunities to get out in front of these, of the public, to increase our numbers within the county of the number of people that have immunized. And I'm thinking, well, trying to think out of the box. You know, the races might be a good place to go to try and get people immunized.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm supportive of the idea. The one logistic issue would be they would not know how many doses to bring, because that's always a guessing game.
Well, it is, and if they run out,
Of course,
they
if
can
they
always
bring-
plan for doing it the following week, because
Sure.
the racing community is a pretty tight-knit, close-knit community, and you get the same people going to the races week after week, and if they see this at 1 week, they might go, well, I don't know, I might be on the fence. They see them there the next week, and they go, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this.
That's the unknown.
So-
Yeah. Okay.
Brainstorming, throwing out ideas.
Yep.
yeah,
That's good. That's good.
I mean, anything that encourages people to get the vaccine is good for everyone.
Sure.
And I certainly support that.
Yeah, Don.
Do like some baseball teams, they give away free tickets for a shot.
and they did it at the St. Paul Saints game
Yeah.
there earlier.
Atlanta Braves did it. Several.
Yep. Yep.
We
We'd certainly-
drive a car around track 1 lap.
Yeah, you know, and we could certainly work with
Whoever from SUNY,
KT, sorry.
group and
come up with
something, a plan, and if we can do anything to promote it further as far as offering a reduced ticket or a free ticket, you know, that's something we consider.
Any other questions for anybody? Yeah, Mike.
So as Tim had mentioned, is this something that we can bring back before the end of next month?
Yes, we will call a special meeting because of the amount of events that you have coming up.
Thank you.
So I will call a special meeting to address this. Yes. Any other comments, questions? Okay, if not, we'll move to the next item. Next one.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I was trying to get unmuted. I'm sorry.
Oh,
For a point of clarification, this does not have to go any further than this committee, correct?
yes.
That's
Based
what I thought.
upon at the last county board action, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have one other comment or two. I think history shows in the past that racing has worked very well with the county. So I'm very confident that if there should be a spike in numbers, that the Racing Association would be willing to work with the county, just like they have in trying to get it open. I'm sure they would work with the county to try to prevent the spread of the virus also. And then one other thing, speaking from not being there, when Don talks, I can never hear him, so he should move his microphone a little closer. Thank you.
Sorry. Is it on now?
The red ring's lit.
Yeah, you're on because the red ring is.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's a lot better, Don.
Okay, we'll go down to the next item, 5B, discussion regarding the Dunn County Fair. So I put this on there because we need to think about the future of the fair and where we're at, what has worked in the past, but we need to think about the future as far as where we're going to go and how it's going to be handled. And one of the reasons I want to get a more of a structure down is because a lot of people who's been involved over the past few years aren't always going to be there. Deb's not always going to be there, and we probably won't be here in a few years or whatever. So wherever the new people are, as long as there's a structure in place for them to follow, that is something I want to work towards. And also the full discussion as to, an open discussion as to, does the county still be involved with the fair as much as it is? Does the county be involved more? Or do we say to the fair board or the group, whatever group you want to call it, hey, we'll lease the land to you for a year and you guys run the show out there. So I need to, we've got a lot of creative minds here and just some things, I don't expect answers tonight because I'm just throwing that out there, but this is a discussion we need to have. I would like to have something in place before next year's budget system. And so that would give, the county time to work on it, to give Deb time to work on it. So it's just something I want to get out there so people get thinking about as to where do we want to go with the fair in the future. Because in the past, it's always been, we have three major, we have the racing, we have hockey, and we have the horse people, and we have the fair, and we always seem to be, we're never always on the same page. So I just want everybody to start thinking about, what's going to be the best way to go in the future. And Deb, I'd like to have you talk to your people as to what do you guys, would you, I'm not expecting a yes or no answer tonight here, but as far as would the fair board want to say, hey, it's up to us here now. We're gonna, the county will rent you the land for $1 and you talk to all the parties involved, you talk to racing, you talk to hockey, you talk to the horse people, you work out having events throughout the year, because one of the issues has always been money making. How can we make money here? So just get the old brain of thinking and try to come up with some creative ideas. Think outside the box again, because what's worked. The world is changing. We're all changing. So we need to. I would like to get something structured in place So we have a better way of transitioning of activities, powers, et cetera. So that's why I had that on there, is just to let's start thinking about how can we make this better for everybody, you know? So that's where that's at.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
with your indulgence, perhaps I can help frame the questions for committee members' consideration. Is that all right?
yeah, yes, please, go ahead.
Okay. The fair in Dunn County has worked for a long time, and I think it's highly valued by a lot of people. But like a lot of things that have been going on for a long time, you just said the world, is changing. Things have changed, and those changes include standards and procedures and oversight and accountability that governments are held to. The fair is in a quasi relationship with the county. It's kind of unlike anything else. The fair prepares a budget, which this committee reviews, and that budget is included in the county's budget. It's in the county's accounting software. So the county has that kind of oversight and that kind of involvement. The county appoints the fair board, so we have that kind of involvement. But the fair is not a department, and so it doesn't have kinds of checks and balances with respect to the administration of the budget, the administration of purchases and sales and receipts, the oversight of contracts, the standards for labor, all the things that a county department does have. Many, or if not most of them, do not apply to the fair. And yet we are tied together financially. We know the past 2 years, for instance, the fair has run a deficit at the end of when the accounting is done, it's about $19,000 each year. And the county is responsible for that under the current arrangement. What we're seeking, I think, is an update and a clarity as to the relationship between the county and the fair going forward, either to bring it more in line with the standards and the regulations that we as a unit of local government must apply to all of our departments when it comes to financial matters, when it comes to human resources matters, all of those laws that apply, to bring it closer to that, provide more oversight, or to adopt a position that says the fair is an independent body. The county participates through the use of the land, through potentially allowing the fair to receive revenues from renting the ag buildings that are otherwise dedicated, or allowing events on the rec park property that don't conflict with the other events to raise revenue, car shows or crafts fairs or whatever else may happen, so that they can raise some revenue. There's a possibilities for the county sharing resources. I think about the men in public works who help with the setup and the tear down, which right now is a charge of the fair. Possibility of in-kind, perhaps as a contribution to help defray some of the costs. Those two options either make it more like a county department, subject to the same rules, basically, that any other county department is subject to, the same kind of oversight, if you will, and standards, or to make it more independent, so that it can perhaps build a fair society, do fundraising, raise revenues, and not have to worry about the county looking over its shoulder with respect to budgets and accounting and records and receipts and things of that nature. So that's what I hope members of the facilities committee would get some thought to. And it isn't something we expect to resolve for the 22 budget. I don't know that we have time to make any kind of major adjustments prior to the adoption of that budget. But it is something we'd encourage the committee to think about, the fair board to think about, and see if we can work toward some improvement of the relationship, whichever direction that takes, in time for 23 budget. Thank you.
Yes, Tim.
I have a question, and the question I have is Dunn County different from other counties. For example, Chippewa. I know Chippewa County has a county fair. They have fairgrounds. I'd assume that their fairgrounds are owned by the county. Shaking head. No. So maybe Deb knows a little bit more about that than I do, obviously, but maybe she can add some light to that situation.
I can try. There's 75 county fairs or state aided fairs in the state of Wisconsin. And you'll be hard pressed to find 2 county fairs that operate in the same manner. There are ag societies, there are associations, there are completely county managed fairs. Fairs that receive county support ranging from as small as like $5,000 to $10,000 up to $300,000 and some $1,000. I can provide that information to you. I think there were in some conversations we had earlier this year, I think people were kind of shocked at what some fairs do get in support from their county. And that there were some fairs that, don't get any cash funds. Chippewa County Fair, you asked about that. They are a society or an association. They're privately owned. I'd have to look on my chart to find out if they're supported financially by the county, but they have their own board of directors and they own the grounds, manage the grounds 100%. And do their own, operate as a business or an entity.
One of the unique,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Supervisor Niehoff. I was going to say one of the unique things, and Deb could correct me. Our rec park isn't a fairgrounds per se. It doesn't have a fence around it. It's a combination of a fairgrounds and a public park. So it's open to the public rather than being enclosed in a fence. And that makes a difference for a fair as well. Something that's open to the park, open to the public as a park makes it very difficult for gate control when you have events. But if you put a fence around it, then it's closed off as a public park unless you open it for specific events. So we're in a bit of a unique situation there. The uniqueness is added to by the presence of Menominee Youth Hockey and the footprint and the control that organization has over the Finetti Center. It's unique in our relationship with Red Cedar Racing. And then there are the horse, those who enjoy the horse arena and the activities that happen there. In talking about it earlier, somebody characterized the relationships as something of a rat's nest. That may be a bit unkind, but it also may be fairly descriptive in terms of the different arrangements the county has. And I think the presence of those different users that have all kind of developed organically, some with more control, some with less, some with a handshake, some with an ordinance, is one of the things that makes the challenge for Dunn County Fair a bit unique.
Mike, maybe they'll segue into the conversation we had last week. You want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, start it.
Well, I know Mike brought up last week, it says, and he's been talking about this for a while, about moving the Dunn County Fair somewhere else and selling off portions or all of the rec park. Whether or not we sell to the hockey, the Finetti Arena, to the Hockey Association, the Red Cedar Racing Association, the racetrack, take the proceeds from the sales of those and build a separate fairgrounds, or I don't know. It sounds like Chippewa did a good job of having a separate organization put theirs together, because I know that they've got a lot of blacktop out there, and they actually had some a racing event out there. Street racing, or well, it wasn't street racing. It was a course that they had set up out there where you actually race your car around a course, kind of more like an Indy car course than a racetrack. So,
Mike?
Well, I think one thing that we undervalue with the property that's there is there's a lot of value there. We don't necessarily have control over all that value, but we also still own it. If we were to sell parts of it, we could sell part to hockey, so hockey can continue to operate. the buildings that we don't control now, granted, you give them a deal on the Finetti building because they put a lot of money into it. But the other buildings have value, and we tend to diminish the value of the cattle barn and the other buildings there that are quite expensive to build. And to sell them and to rebuild them, you can get a good return on your money. The property's worth a lot. Racing would be challenged to relocate, but potentially to buy that property, the footprint of their property, or to just continue and do some, there's always things that we can look at to reconfigure how the land that's there is laid out and utilized. So I think that there's a lot more value than what we've been kind of what we put on it. I wasn't present at the discussions a couple years ago when you talked of a new fairgrounds and the pie in the sky, every building has every amenity in it, really wasn't realistic for what county fair would need. So the $28 million or whatever it was to relocate the fair and the need for 80 acres of prime land at 10,000 an acre, some of them things I don't think were really the planning venue that we probably should have been going down. When we don't have a huge budget, we should be more conservative on our spending. So I think that there is possibilities in moving it or keeping it where it is or revamping it or leasing it out to the fair committee, and that's a new thought too. So I think they're all great ideas, but I don't think we should discard any of them just because we thought it was so expensive. I tend to disagree with the cost of that fair before relocating it.
Yeah, because a couple years ago when we did do that study, I don't have the numbers with me here now, but by the time the end result would be the county would have to stick in a lot of money in the relocation. Now, when you bring up the idea of what would you have to build in the new fairgrounds, other than building everything up to code, I don't know if there was anything really that much extra in it. Because one of the major challenges is where are you going to relocate? Try to find the land, because the minute people know you're looking to buy land, you know what happens to the value of that land. So I mean, we don't have to discard that idea, but we did go down that road once, and the numbers were cost prohibitive at the time. Now you say you disagree with the numbers. I suppose we could look at it again. I guess maybe we not to spend any more time tonight, but maybe we could get together, you and I, and just talk about what you're thinking, and just just so I can understand more where you're coming from, because obviously you're a business person, you're in the area, you know how things go, but so
I'm not necessarily proposing that that's the route we should go. I just think that
make sure you're close enough to the
I just think in the spirit of what we're gonna, if we want to begin to have the conversation about whether the fair stays, goes, moves, doesn't, or just get rid of it, I'd just like to kind of explore all the venues.
all the
a
out
little more.
Okay, fair enough.
The other thing that I would like to point out that we need to take into consideration too, since I know that when I moved to Menominee quite a few years ago, Dunn County Park, Rec Park, was kind of in the county. It says with the expansion of the city and with the schools over there and everything, it says now the Dunn County Rec Park is really more part of Menominee rather than Dunn County, even though Menominee is in Dunn County, but
Still.
But I think you get the gist of kind of where I'm going. It's almost become more of a city asset than it has a county asset.
Any other discussion? Okay, if not, we'll go on with the agenda then. Okay, item number 6, staff and recreation reports, fair board. Deb?
Think it's still on. I did look it up, Tim, and Chippewa County provided Northern Wisconsin State Fair with $54,000 support. So I have the whole list. If you'd like to see the list, I can certainly give it to you.
I would like to see that. Yes, please.
Okay, I will send that to you. I'll send it to the whole group. As you know, the fair's less than a month away. We're in our final push to finish everything. We still need a few judges, a few superintendents. Interested in one of these positions. They're volunteer, but
Deb, we're gonna have to switch out your mic. You keep cutting in and out. So if Randy can grab another mic.
It's not on. Okay,
can you hear me now, Krista?
I can.
All right. I'll start over. So as you know, the fair is less than a month away. Final push is on right now to finish everything. We still need a few judges and superintendents. If anybody's willing to or would like to volunteer at the fair, we are also looking for volunteers to help with other projects. We are looking for a nonprofit organization to partner with the fair to work on cleaning. The Boy Scouts always took care of cleaning the bathrooms during the day and picking up the garbage around the grounds, and they have disbanded. So we're looking for a new group to help with that. So if anybody has a tie to a nonprofit that's looking for some fundraising, please have them get in touch with me. The schedule of county fairs is out. If anybody wants one, they can sure get one from me tonight. Otherwise, and I know there's some, Marge put some here in the mail or someplace in the clerk's office. So if anybody wants any, they're available. And talking about the vaccination clinic, KT has been in touch to hold a vaccination clinic at the fair. During the fair, I'm not sure the times yet. Details are all being worked out, so that will be an opportunity for people to, they'll bring in their mobile unit and provide vaccinations for people that desire to have them. And I did send my written report to the committee, so I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that probably covers about everything. So I hope you all come to the fair. And Done.
Dunn County Waste used to have a project where they collected pop cans and bottles and everything.
Mhm.
And now that they're disbanded, is that going to happen or?
We'll still, I'm hoping that that trailer, I talked to John, the trailer is still there with all
Yeah,
of the
right.
stuff. So
Mhm.
as part of that group that I'm looking for, that nonprofit group,
Okay.
they'll change those out and we'll still continue.
Okay,
We're
yeah.
big on recycling. We got a national award for that, and I certainly would
Mhm.
not, the fair got a national award for that, and I certainly would not want to go backwards and not
Okay.
recycle. So
Well, that's good. That's good to
yeah.
hear. Yeah.
So we will do that. We'll be doing that again.
In your report here, you made reference to the drop in youth exhibits. How big a drop are we talking?
I can't put an exact number on it. 4-H enrollment is down. I think Extension had provided a number that they're at like 80% of what they were last year, so that will affect us. We've picked up, however, some additional FFA numbers. But 4-H exhibit or 4-H entries and open class entries are coming in a little slow, but I think it's just a whole unknown of whether or not the fair would happen.
Sure.
It's really picked up a lot of, I probably talked to like 30 people today
Oh.
from open class that are interested in exhibiting and we're wondering about it. So I think it's going to be a real push the next couple weeks. That's probably, I'll be tied to a phone and my computer probably
Okay.
while we get people signed up. But Louisa would have that exact number. I've heard as low as enrollment for 4-H as low as 65%, but she had indicated at our meeting that it was at 82%, I believe.
Okay,
So I'm not sure how those numbers are calculated or if they're
Sure.
including the adult leaders in that group or not, but
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Deb? Okay. If not, we'll move on to the next one, facilities and parks divisions operations. Scott?
Good evening, everyone. So we got our seasonal staff hired. June 9th, Jake started, and June 14th, John started. They're doing mowing of the parks, and so far they're doing good. It's moving along good. The rest of the staff have been keeping things going with work orders and preventive maintenance and everything. And with that, they've been working on the projects of moving our offices. So on June 9th, we moved our offices into the house, relocated out of this building. So we're not fully settled in, but we're in the house and things are working good, I think, anyway. And they're also working on the record storage move. So they have almost all of the records boxes from the record center moved into this building, the shelving and everything, and then working on locking up the files that need to be separated from everybody else in the county, locked up separately. They're working on that. It's coming along, and then we're moving our shop stuff all out of there out to the record storage building. So a couple projects going on, and you guys probably have seen the new signs out in front of the building. The one out by the highway, the one in front of our new office, and a couple of directional signs as you come in the parking lot. Those are all done, and they turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I do too. I was actually pleasantly surprised. It looks better than what I anticipated. I like it.
Turned out nice.
You're
Yeah,
gonna put a new one in front of a highway?
yep. That'll be the next one that will happen. And then after that, we're gonna move, looking at moving forward with a new sign out in front of Judicial Center. This Judicial Center has that pillar right up in front of the doors. We really don't see it. So what the plan is to match a sign with Highway and Government Center and have it for Judicial Center out there. That'd be one of the next projects down the road here. We'll
Okay.
look into. I guess that's all I have for operations and projects.
Okay.
Hi.
Any questions? Yeah. Tim?
Not a question, more of a comment. This is, yeah, I really do like the sign that says I've driven by at different times, when it's, even when it's dark out, it is a very visible sign, so.
We, what we did was, recommendation from the sign company was, paint the sign itself white. And so we have Greg Proudlock on staff that, used to do body work, worked in a couple of body shops. And so we took the signs to our blacksmith shop and out there, and he sprayed the industrial enamel on there, which turned out excellent. And the sign guys came, they put their vinyl on there, and it worked out perfect. So that white paint on there is gonna last quite a long time. And the signs will be really nice. They pop, so that's really
Yeah.
nice.
Good.
It's good to have the staff on board that can do that stuff.
Right.
Very
Those
talented.
talents.
Yeah. Very
Okay.
nice. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Are you in charge of parking, the parking of the equipment stuff? Is that a conversation we can have at this time?
Can you repeat that in the microphone closer?
The equipment being parked at the waste treatment plant? Is that something we can discuss?
waste.
Solid waste.
Out at the transfer station.
Is that a discussion we can have?
No,
Okay.
it's not on the agenda and it's really not. No.
Didn't want anything.
Well, okay. Any other questions? Okay, if not, that was operations and projects, facilities fleet.
Facilities fleet, Scott and I met with Jen from Enterprise yesterday on our yearly update. Our Malibus are going to be built August 12th, so we should receive those probably sometime in September, she figures. She did inform us on the replacement truck that we got for Scott. We ended up purchasing that truck in 2018 for $31,036. When they sold it now, when we returned it and got Scott's new Ford, we ended up getting 35,500 for it. So we actually made $4,464 on that truck. And after 2 years, we have $16,000 worth of equity, a little bit over, to flip into the new truck. So she anticipates we're going to have pretty much the same results on those Malibus. She said that used vehicles are hot right now. The leasing companies and the rental companies are not turning vehicles back in because they're just not to be had. So she said dealers are fighting at the auction for anything that comes up, especially these government return vehicles with low miles. They are bringing just really great numbers right now. So that was some good news that she brought to us on that truck. So hopefully we can keep falling into that line. And even if the market softens a little bit, I think we're in really good shape. And she's laying everything out for us. We've built quite a bit of equity here in the last 2 years. We reduced our maintenance and repair costs. So things are looking really good. She is currently putting together a schedule for order dates and prices. Right now we are considering looking at replacement of our minivans. Are starting to get up there in age and miles. So she's going to put together a list of options, and then probably September, October, we'll review them, then bring the recommendations to the committee. But right now that the enterprise is working very, very well for us.
Good, good.
And also Scott said that demand, now that everything's kind of going back to normal or more normalized, the demand for the vehicles are up. There's a lot of days when none of the vehicles are available. They're all out and about. So that's our goal. That's where we want to be at that threshold. We don't want too many sitting around. We haven't heard much of a demand for people not having vehicles. So I think right now we're at our sweet spot.
Good.
So
Good.
we'll just keep updating it as we get information in.
Okay. And I see in your report, Excel did provide the interval data.
Yes, I did get hold of the gal in the cities. She did get me the interval data. I forwarded that interval data on to Dave Plume. He will throw the numbers together with that. We're still working on the feasibility of meter splits, so we could get down to that 100 kW split each building and kind of get some numbers together to see feasibility and cost, if that would be economical for us to do. So as soon as Dave gets some numbers together, then we will probably bring him back in July or August and give us an update on the status for that.
Okay, good. Okay, anybody else have any questions? If not, we'll go on to the next one. Monthly financial reports. Who wants to handle that?
I can,
The guy on the end?
Yep.
Okay.
I guess why I'm here
I
tonight
have
is just
people.
Yeah.
the formatting of it is just different than it has been in the
Yep.
past few months. There's more detail now. They want it. When I originally started these last year, I got feedback that it was too busy and people couldn't understand it. So I summarized it as basics as I could with total revenues, total expenditures. And now we decided that there should be more detail in it. So I still have a very top sheet should be a summary. Second one should be broken down by cost center. And then I don't think it was provided to you guys, but I ran the detail on it so I could see if there's any kind of variances in it. Like with I'm on the facilities operations now. If you go to that second sheet, there's a little bit of a variance with the because of the long-term debt. We haven't got the debt yet, so the revenue is down because we haven't got the debt because the what was it? The roof for the judicial center, the parking lot. So we haven't incurred those expenses, so we haven't got.
We haven't started the project, so
Right.
we haven't
So
had any
that's-
bills to pay.
Yeah, that's why that is down.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. And so every month I'll just kind of do that and give it to John and Scott, and they can explain it that way. But otherwise, there's nothing no big variances with parks or facilities.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. Like I said, it just, they wanted more detail in it by cost center. And if it helps you guys, that's fine, I'll provide it.
Sure.
If not, then it's still there for you.
I guess one question I have up at, well, and it's at the Boyceville shooting range. I see we went over budget there. What did we do at the range?
Only thing at the range that we do is pay for the garbage removal. And since we discussed it at the meeting about the county picking it up, they kind of increased their garbage use or their pickup.
Well, I
So-
know we had talked about that at the Menominee shooting range. This is the Boyceville shooting range.
Yes, Boyceville, Menominee, and Colfax, all three
Okay.
ranges. And so that's what Boyceville picked it up. I had money budgeted in there. They're going over, so I adjusted that for 2022. Took some money out of other areas to
Okay.
cover that. So yeah, basically they're for
Yeah.
whatever reason. I guess I should reach out to them and find out what the increase is here.
Yeah, I was just, yeah, because
Yeah, it's
it'd be good to know,
Yeah.
just because. Okay.
I'll let them know that we're watching.
Yeah. Well, and we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on the financial aspects and stuff? Yeah, Don.
Can I just go back to John's on energy?
Yep.
And, you know, we passed this resolution on clean energy a couple of months ago. And I don't know if we can discuss this at all, but I was wondering, it seems to me we need to start thinking about a plan because that's what was in the resolution also. And do we want to do that? And I'd be willing to kind of start stuff.
Well, yeah, we
You know, we should have a plan. and-
define what your definition of a
Yeah.
plan is.
And then, you know, something measurable that we can measure against what we're doing now. And so I could come up with a few ideas for the next meeting if you want to.
Yeah, if you would, sure, because we definitely need a plan,
Yeah,
so, so we know where our baseline, where we started. And yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
And I know that we had talked about that at one point in time as I threw things out, upgraded insulation, upgraded windows.
Yep.
And since we're on this topic, maybe I'll jump over to kind of attach it to, I mentioned, Paul gave a report of COVID monies that were available. And one of the things that I jotted down on the list, and I put it on, I have that piece of paper here. And it's probably more of a question than anything else, because one of the things that we found out, I think we all found out as we were going through this, is that the air handling equipment probably wasn't the best for handling COVID. Would there be a possibility of utilizing some of that money for changing out the air handling equipment so that we have better air exchanges in the county buildings?
Good thought.
Just a thought,
Good thought.
because that would be, we could tie that directly to COVID, because we're doing it because we're trying to decrease the possibility of spreading COVID indoors.
Sure. Sure. Good. Well, and, you know, as to how you spend the COVID money, I mean, yeah, I mean, anything's possible. It takes the discussion and, you know, you weigh the values. We go from there. So, but that is an excellent idea.
Tying it back to what Don brought up, since, you know, I threw out all those things, upgrading insulation. Ron brought up the possibility of planting trees to provide shade in the summer. And when they drop their leaves in the winter, then you get the benefit of the sunshine against the building. I know, so just looking at the highway department over here, there's a lot of blacktop out there. So if you're gonna think about doing that at the highway department on that side of the building, you'd have to put some, you know, strategic trees in there somewhere so that you can potentially provide shade, reduce the use of cooling in the summer, potentially heating in the winter because the tree drops its leaves and then you get the benefit of the sun in the building. So those are the things that we had talked about when we were going to the carbon neutral. And I think those are the things that we need to do and look at for each building. I know and we talked about the heat pumps for buildings because that reduces the need to heat and cool utilize that to cool the air or cool buildings in the summer, and you can help provide heat in the winter. So I think we need to start with those in mind and then go look at, say, okay, building by building, what do we have? I know Neighbors was fairly new. Is fairly new and it has a lot of this stuff incorporated into it already. But I think we need to start looking at that building by building and put together a plan and say, well, in 2023, let's do windows in this building. In 2024, let's do insulation over here. In 2025, let's start budgeting it out so that it's not going to be all a big bang at the end of this whole process.
Sure.
So I think that's the plan that we're referring to, and we can track it. We can say, okay, this is where we're at as far as our plan. So I think we can do that. I'd be willing to help if you want me to throw those things back at you, Don.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one further comment on this resolution. I just want to say that was I thought a real committee effort. And I certainly appreciate everybody's input. And I think we did a pretty good job based on what the county board voted. I think, was there one vote negative or was there any? I couldn't tell. But anyway, I just appreciate all your comments and cooperation. I think we did a great job. It was a real committee effort.
Because based on the discussion at the county board, I mean, there was a lot more discussion than I thought there would be.
Yeah.
So.
And the vote was very positive, so.
Okay. Yeah.
So is then like replacing the air handlers or heating systems with geothermal, different things that could maybe be thrown in there too as they become outdated in time for upgrades.
Can you repeat that in the mic?
Maybe geothermal can be something that we look at when we start upgrading systems that are starting to fail, the heating systems in these older buildings to mimic what we have in this building, maybe. I don't know the feasibility, but.
Well, but that'd be capital budget type stuff.
That was in the big plan several years ago when we put geothermal in these two buildings. The judicial center is the one that's left yet. And that's a possibility too. Okay, we'll get something started.
Okay, good. Okay, next one, item C, corporate council staff report, none. Next one, D, environmental services department, accessibility wheel track, Wisconsin track wheelchair agreement update. You have anything on that, Jen?
Yep. Bob Colson's last day will be this Friday. So Bob kind of turned that over to me. We talked about it here earlier in the week. Accessibility Wisconsin is still waiting for the enclosed trailer to transport the wheelchair. Wheelchair's all ready to go. They are keeping us in the loop on the update. When the trailer gets there, they will get everything loaded. They will notify us, notify Rotary, and they will get it delivered to Menominee. And Scott and I are coming up with a plan to house it and make sure that we can charge it efficiently, with access, and people can hook onto it and get out of here without any snafus. So we're just waiting now for the trailer to show up.
Okay, good.
So keep everybody in the loop.
Great. Okay, next item, considerations for actions to be taken by the committee, none. Number 8, considerations of reports, resolutions, and ordinances to be recommended to the Dunn County Board by the Facilities Committee, 2021 Dunn County Fair Board appointments. Yep.
Okay, so myself and Derek are up for reappointment this year, and our term ends the end of September. And we'd like to move those forward. And Justin Jensen was also up for reappointment, but he had resigned earlier this year, and we hadn't filled his position yet. So we'd like to recommend that Larry Bjork be appointed for a 3-year term. Starting or, well, he would replace Justin for the rest of his term and then in September. Be
Start
for
the
3
new term,
years.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Are these actions that we can take, or do they have to go in front of the full board?
Yeah, go in front of the full board.
Okay.
Yep, so, without any objections, we'll move forward. Is everybody in agreement with that, with those?
Agreed.
Agreed, okay.
Never turned out a volunteer.
No.
Okay,
Deb, would you send me an email for all that so I can make sure it gets on next county board meeting?
I will do that, Dave.
Thank you.
okay, then that brings us down to our next meeting date, which we do have a conflict. Originally, it was going to be July 28th, but that's when the next county board meeting is, so.
And just so you know, as I heard some talking, we can't do it the week before because that's, that Wednesday is when the executive.
Yeah, the exact meeting there, that's at 3:30,
Oh, okay.
so we could.
Or should we just bump it up so that we can have the discussion on the Red Cedar Racing at the same time? Or
Actually,
does it
I-
actually require a special meeting?
Well, that wouldn't, but I want to act on it fast
Yes.
and like within next 2 weeks. And there really wouldn't be enough time for any other business to,
Okay, that's fine.
you know. I guess I'm opening it up to you guys. What day works for you guys? I don't want to, you know, pick a date and then, oh, I can't make it because, you know, whatever. We all know we all have busy schedules.
Pretty open.
If we don't
Yeah,
butt up
pretty-
against the executive board, I see no reason why we couldn't put it to the week before.
The 21st?
That's the start of the fair. First day of the fair.
Oh, well,
So,
then we're not going
Ron's
to.
busy.
Ron's busy. Okay. Okay,
I'd invite you to come out there and have it. I
sure.
mean, you'd all come to the fair that way. I don't know where we'd put you. We'd have to find a
Right.
spot. I'm sure we can find a spot
Okay,
in one of the locker rooms or something that we have access to.
Now, you remember, we'd have to have Wi-Fi because we have.
Yep. There's Wi-Fi.
there's Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe some other day. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the
Within-
20, like
within that week.
27th.
Yeah.
That's a Tuesday.
Okay with me.
That was the 27th, so for everybody.
I think that would work.
Okay,
So we'd have a meeting Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. For me.
okay. Facilities, then the next meeting will be on July 27th. At 6:30. Okay. Okay. That brings us down to item 10, adjournment. Any other discussion? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.